Dust hung in the air like a permanent shroud over the town of Dry Creek. Every wooden board on Main Street groaned under time's weight, and every man seemed older than the sun. Sheriff's boots dragged, the saloon piano coughed more than it sang, and the preacher had buried more souls than he'd saved. It was the kind of place folks only stayed in when they had nowhere else to go. Colt Mercer didn't speak much anymore. Once a cavalryman, then a rancher, then a husband, and now just a widowed cowboy with eyes like storm clouds and a heart buried alongside his wife in the little hill behind his shack. Since Clara died 2 winters ago from fever, he'd stopped riding into town except for supplies. Some whispered he was half-mad. Others swore they saw him talking to the wind. But today, Colt was cooking. He'd shot a rabbit that morning and had a small iron pot simmering over the fire behind his home. There wasn't much in it, just water, wild herbs, and scraps of dried potato, but the scent of something warm was enough to remind him of when life held sweetness. Then he heard it, a voice, small, unsure, cracked with hunger, just behind him. "Can we taste your stew, mister?" Colt turned. 3 children stood just past the porch post. The oldest, maybe 10, held the hands of 2 smaller ones, twins, no older than 6. Dirt smeared their faces. Their clothes were too thin for the cooling dusk. But it wasn't their words that silenced him. It was her eyes. Behind them stood a woman, tall and strong-shouldered despite the tremble in her knees. Her brown hair had come loose, falling in waves, and her dress was torn near the hem. A raw bruise marked her cheek, but her eyes, stormy blue like a high country lake before rain, held Colt's own. She didn't say a word. Didn't have to. Chapter 2, Clara's Stew. Colt didn't ask questions. He only nodded and gestured toward the stew pot. The woman hesitated, then guided the children closer. Colt fetched a few old tin bowls and ladled out portions. The kids devoured a meal like coyotes, barely pausing to breathe. The woman, by contrast, ate slow, methodical. Her hand shook a little, but she tried to hide it. "You got a name?" Colt asked after a while. She looked up. "Annie. Those are my nieces and nephew, Martha, Maisie, and Eli. Their folks are gone." Colt didn't press. Death was a language everyone in Dry Creek understood too well. "They took our wagon. Left us by the ridge," she added after a long pause. "I walked 6 miles carrying Maisie till Eli saw the smoke hay." "Bandits." "Something was," she said softly. Colt didn't ask again. Instead, he brought out a wool blanket, tore some bread from his stores, and laid it beside her. The woman's eyes shimmered, not from gratitude, but disbelief. She'd been met with closed doors before. Colt could see it in the way she didn't let her shoulders fall, not even now. "They called me heartless once," Colt said gruffly, "but I figured Clara wouldn't forgive me if I turned away children." Annie nodded. "Thank you." For the first time in 2 years, Colt thought the stew even tasted like Clara's. Chapter 3, The Quiet That Healed. Annie and the children stayed. Just a few days at first, she promised. But Colt had space, and the bunkhouse out back was dry. He taught Eli to chop wood, while Annie helped clean the shed. The girls picked wildflowers and laid them on Clara's grave every morning. The silence that once haunted Colt's land now carried the echo of laughter. But nights were harder. Colt heard Annie cry once, not loud, just a broken kind of sound, like a parched board too worn to hold weight. He didn't go to her, but he left coffee and a shawl by the door. By the 5th morning, she spoke more freely, told him about her brother's ranch, overrun by rustlers after he died in a cattle raid, about how her sister-in-law was shot trying to protect her children, about how the sheriff in a nearby town had called her a liar and refused to help. They thought I was mocking it up, said I probably ran away with some drunk and left the children. "They ever see your face?" She shook her head. "They ever see your eyes?" Colt asked. "No, that's a mistake." Annie blushed and turned away. Chapter 4. Blood in the Dust. It was a week later when danger returned. Colt was coming back from town, riding slow along the ridge, when he saw smoke near his homestead. Too much smoke, not the kind that came from cooking. He kicked his horse hard. When he arrived, he found Annie standing outside, shotgun in hand. Eli clutched his sisters behind her. 2 riders lay bleeding on the date, one dead, the other moaning. "Didn't think they'd follow us this far," Annie whispered. "Didn't think they'd find us." Colt dismounted. "Stay with the kids," he ordered. Then he walked over to the wounded man and knelt. "You come for the woman or the land?" "Hell," the man spat. "We came, 'cause she ain't got no man to protect her." Colt's jaw clenched. The fire in his chest wasn't just anger. It was something deeper. A righteous fury. A line had been crossed. "Now she does," Colt muttered. The man laughed, until Colt's fist cracked his jaw and the world went black. Chapter 5. Reckoning. Word traveled fast in frontier towns. Colt hauled the unconscious bandit into Dry Creek by wagon, dropped him at the sheriff's feet with a story, and then said nothing more. His fist did the talking. The town folk started whispering different things about Colt Mercer now, about the widower who defended a woman and 3 orphans like they were his own kin. 2 days later, the rest of the gang came riding in. Colt was ready. He and Annie had dug trenches, hidden the children, and loaded every round they owned. The fight was short but brutal. Annie held the porch, taking out 2 men with her father's old rifle. Colt took a bullet to the arm, but stayed on his feet long enough to gut the leader with a Bowie knife. By dusk, the land was quiet again. Annie cleaned his wound inside while the children watched from the corner with wide, admiring eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, sewing the stitch tight. "Don't thank me. Just stay." Her hands paused. "You mean that?" Colt looked at her. Really looked. "I buried one, love," he said. "Didn't think I'd feel again. But you bring something back, Annie. Something I thought was gone for good." Tears welled up in her eyes. She leaned forward, not fast, not desperate, just certain. Their foreheads touched. No kiss yet. Just warmth. Just a promise of more. Chapter 6. A New Fire. Spring came to Dry Creek like a hush after a storm. Wildflowers burst through the dead grass, and for once there were more births than burials. Colt and Annie worked side by side on the land. She planted herbs. He built a new fence. Eli got a pony. The girls helped decorate the bunkhouse and hung flowers over Clara's grave, now joined by 2 new headstones, carved by Colt's own hand, for the bandits who'd threatened their peace. Annie began cooking stews that reminded Colt of his late wife, but still tasted like her, spicy, bold, alive. One evening, while watching the kids play near the creek, Colt finally took her hand. "I used to think redemption was for preachers and fools," he said quietly. "But turns out, sometimes it comes wearing a torn dress and carrying 3 little angels." Annie smiled, eyes shimmering. "I never thought I'd be safe again," she replied. "You are now. With me." That night, the first real kiss happened under the stars, slow, aching.